Good morning. Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for the privilege of being here today and for the freedoms that we enjoy as part of this nation. We recognize that these freedoms have come at a great cost. And so we pause this day to remember and honor those who have paid the ultimate, those who have given their lives in the service of our country. We ask, O God, give us grace to remember Give us grace to remember that those who gave their lives were not anonymous, unknown persons, but family members, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters who grew up in our neighborhoods and went to school, and played ball with our kids in our fields, and whose names and our families we know. Give us grace to remember how they left careers, families, and friends, the right to pursue their own paths and goals in order to follow a call to serve others. Help us to remember their choice of self-giving over self-serving, of what they offered on behalf of others instead of what they felt was owed to them. Help us to remember our own responsibilities to the values for which they have died. May the honor that they have earned be our motivation for service of our country, of our town, and of our neighbors. And Lord, in your compassion, help us to remember the families who even this day offer their fathers and mothers, sons and daughters to the service of our country. Bless, protect, guide them during their deployments and time away. Help and heal all those who have returned with wounds that are often unseen, and help us to be more aware of our responsibility to care for those who have served on our behalf. And now, gracious God, as we commend to you those who have died in the service of our country, we pray that you may grant them eternal rest and peace. We ask that you would bring that lasting and eternal peace for which our whole world longs. We ask it all this day in your holy name. Amen.
At this time, I would like to thank members of Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion, and the Tariffville Village Association for organizing and coordinating this event. I would also like to express our gratitude to the Henry James Memorial Band, Spinners Twirl Team, Talcott Mountain Highlanders, our trumpet players Tanner Brown and Josephine Rasbora, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, Webelos, Brownies, everybody that is having a parade experience today. Thank you all. And Boy Scout Troop 76, who assisted in placing flags. It is my pleasure to introduce our honored guest, State Representative John Hampton and the Simsbury Board of Selectmen. First Selectman Eric Wellman, Deputy First Selectman Chris Kelly, Selectwoman Cheryl Cook, Selectman Mike Payne, Selectman Chris Peterson. I would like now to have First Selectman Eric Wellman deliver greetings from the town.
Good morning. On behalf of the town, I welcome you here today, on this Memorial Day, 2019. Standing here in St. Bernard Cemetery in this historic village of Tariffville, in this beautiful, peaceful place, we pause to remember the residents of this community who gave their lives in service to our country. I would like to echo my welcome to our elected leaders who are with us today, and my thanks to the people who organized this event, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, post-1926, American Legion, post-84, and the Tariffville Village Association. This year, we are commemorating the 75th anniversary of D-Day, the largest invasion by sea in history. You all knew that some things are worth dying for, President Reagan said in a 1984 speech. At the time, it was 40 years after the Normandy landing. One's country is worth dying for, and democracy is worth dying for, because it's the most deeply honorable form of government ever devised by man. Again, the words of President Reagan. lest we never forget that we call home a beautiful, remarkable place, the United States of America, and our town of Simsbury, because of the service and the sacrifice of men and women across our great nation and right here at home. Today, unlike World War II, we lack the notion of shared sacrifice. There are very few signs, especially in Simsbury, Connecticut, that we are a nation at war. In the absence of shared sacrifice, I ask every member of our community to think about what service means to us right here. In what ways can we put our skills, our talents, how can we put our collective brain power together to serve our community, to serve our country? In no way do I compare the service at home to the services and sacrifices of the men and women abroad. But this is a day when we remember those men and women who died serving our country. And I can think of no better way to honor their sacrifice than us here at home, embracing our collective responsibility of strengthening the democratic ideals for which they laid down their lives. Thank you.
Our speaker this morning is one of our own daughters, Allison Ashmore. Allie's a fourth generation resident of the village. Allie enlisted in 1996 in the United States Navy, came home honorably discharged in 2000 and started her business, Ashmore Hair Design. Please welcome Allie Ashmore.
Good morning, and thank you for being here today. Can you guys hear me okay? I would like to say thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for all taking the time out of your day to stand with us in recognition and honor of all of those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in serving to this nation. I would like to just take a moment and recognize all those amongst us who have served or are currently serving, as well as any here who have lost a loved one in service. We are humbled by your services as we know they are great, and we commend the demonstrations of courage and strength that you have no doubt shown throughout the most difficult times. I would also like to recognize a few of our own local veterans. My grandfather, James McCahill, and his two sons, James and Gary McCahill. Gary McCahill, my uncle, was honored with receiving this Purple Star. Heart. I'd like to thank my future father-in-law, Eugene Mitchell, and my boyfriend's father, Bob Coyle. We do have a local barber you all may know, Roland Wolf. He does great haircuts. And my neighbor Ted, who I sat with for the first time over the weekend and learned that he was a veteran in the Korean War. Also to Joe and Ed Madzak. More than 1.1 million men and women have died in wartime throughout the span of our nation's history. To put that in perspective, that's more than the populations of San Francisco, Boston, Seattle, or Washington, D.C. In fact, more people were killed in World War II alone than currently living in the city of New Orleans. This, of course, does not even begin to take into account those who were wounded or went missing. That number is closer to 2.8 million, just slightly more in the city of Chicago. These numbers should truly humble us as they represent people, individuals who were brothers, husbands, mothers, sisters, and friends. These were people woven into the fabric of communities across the nation. They were loved, they were mourned, and they were missed. Personally, I cannot begin to comprehend the moment when you send your loved one off to war. You watch them disappear out of your line of sight, knowing it may very well be the last time you will see them. On November 26, 1996, my wonderful family, Jeffrey and Cindy Ashmore, and my brothers, Jeffrey and Jay Ashmore, gave me many hugs, nervously sending me off on my new adventure. I'm sure that crossed their minds, not knowing when we would see each other again. After my basic training, I was stationed in Coronado, San Diego. Poor me, right? Pretty nice place. So I was assigned to the HS-6 Indian community, which is a helicopter community. There I trained and I became a landing signals woman. My command was assigned aboard the USS Carl Vinson CVN-70. There we deployed for 6 months in the Pacific Ocean and into the Persian Gulf. There my responsibilities were launching and recover helicopters on the flight deck. Pretty hard job, especially in hot weather like this. After 3 years of serving in San Diego, I relocated here to Groton, Connecticut for the last year of my enlistment. At that time, my father unfortunately was diagnosed with terminal cancer. So I was feeling very fortunate to be relocated to enjoy this last year of my father's life. Back to what I was mentioning about your loved ones walking out that door. Hug them, love them, and tell them you love them. But this has been a stark reality for many families in this country. So, two have been the telegrams, the middle of the night phone calls, and the chaplain standing at the front door of the next of kin to tell them their loved ones had given the ultimate sacrifice. It is too easy for those who have never suffered such losses to see past the holes that were left in the families and communities. That's simply human nature. As Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, those who have long enjoyed such privileges as we enjoy forget in time that men have died to win them. I personally would encourage you to get to know these stories within your own community. I think you'll be amazed at all the stories of true valor you will find. Just for instance, of me sitting with my neighbor knowing he was in the Korean War. I look forward to sitting with him many more times and learning more. Like my uncle, Gary McCahill, he served in the United States Army in the Vietnam War. While minesweeping with his platoon, unfortunately an explosive detonated. Gary took significant shrapnel wounds, but he survived. Upon returning home after his tour, again, my uncle received the Purple Heart that I'm holding here in front of you. Unfortunately, my wonderful Uncle Gary passed away in 2006 due to ALS. This is the reality of military services, and this is what we take to heart on Memorial Day. We are able to be here today largely to thank those who are not. Turn the page. There are many ways you can keep our fallen as well as our injured and ill veterans in your mind and heart throughout the year. It could be driving a veteran to a medical appointment, befriending a veteran who lives alone or in a nursing facility, or reaching out to the veteran who just left their military service. Please, please reach out to find ways you can help engage and be a part of the effort to care for those who served. Working together with friends, neighbors, veterans groups, and entire communities, we can ensure that the sacrifices made by our nation's finest and bravest never go unappreciated and that their memories are never forgotten. I want to thank all of you for joining in today's tribute. I hope our military women and men and the sacrifices they made to close to your heart today and throughout the rest of the year. I thank everybody for being here, and I would like to especially thank my son Jaden and my boyfriend Kevin and my wonderful family and everyone else around us. Happy Memorial Day, you guys. Have a great day.
I would also like to call attention to our parade marshal, retired Army Colonel Joe Matsack, who many know is a native son of Tariffville. Today's event marks the 20th year that Joe has served as parade marshal. To all veterans in the audience, please raise your hand if you served. Our deepest thanks for your service. Please join me in acknowledging with a round of applause the efforts of all who make Memorial Day so special here in the village. It's also my honor to introduce Caden Lill, who will come up and entertain us with his rendition of America the Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of rain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
In addition to the wreath of remembrance that was placed at the Veterans Memorial Monument on the parade route, we place a second wreath now. These wreaths are in commemoration of graves here at home, burials at sea, and those resting places which are known only to God. 8 of those men are buried here in this cemetery. From World War I, Privates George L. Hall and Joseph Tomalonis Jr. From World War II, Private Leon J. Hoppy, Corporal Roland A. Levine, Sergeants Silvio A. Salvatore and Edward Stilpin, PFC Isidore Zarnowski, and from the Vietnam War, First Lieutenant Richard W. Keithline. Like so many of us before and after, these young men who answered the call to duty took places in harm's way for their country, and to that harm they fell on battlefields far from the families that mourn them the special day every year. Our thanks forever. I will now ask Len Lanza, past commander of American Legion and past commander of Veterans of Foreign War, to place the wreath. Comrade Lanza, place the wreath.
Bring your units to attention and present arms. Left hand, breathe in, arms. units, present arms. Bring your units to order arms. Order arms. Thank you all for joining us this morning. There will also be a parade in Simsbury this afternoon starting at 1:30. The Simsbury Volunteer Fire Department invites everyone to the firehouse for some ice cream, soda, and coffee, and Trinity Church for hot dogs and activities. Again, thank you all very much for coming today. Parade master, assemble the parade.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.